Well, welcome everybody. Today's an interesting day. We had some lovely storms last night in Texas, and we're pushing through those storms, and we're recovering fast. But you know what's interesting about storms like that is all kinds of electricity and power outages, and most importantly, the thing that people are most interested in right now is energy. And one of the things we're going to talk about today is just that topic. We're going to talk about why energy drinks are leaving you exhausted, which seems somewhat backwards. You know, you would think that, the whole purpose of taking an energy drink in the first place is to avoid the loss of energy or the feeling of exhaustion. But the concept is the way these things are made and the way that they are manufactured, that it's exactly what ends up happening to you. So let's just kind of jump right in. The idea behind energy is it goes way back in history. And in fact, we're going to talk about that a little bit today. But the concept is in an energy drink is something that's easy to grab, easy to get, and most importantly, goes along with our belief system that when we lack energy, it must be a lack of caffeine. Unfortunately, that's not always the case, but also, unfortunately, is what we're going to find today that it wasn't enough just to have drinks that had caffeine in them because we already had that. That's what we lovingly refer to as coffee, a staple in almost everyone's meal in some form, fashion, or way, or their day, I should say. But the energy drink market is different because they took caffeine and then they started adding other things to it, sugar and things of that nature. And let's kind of just jump right in, if we will. The world market for energy drinks is $20 billion. $20 billion. This is a market that is well established, obviously, and is growing every year, exponentially so, because you're seeing more and more things. People are trying to come up with the novel ideas, and we're going to see some of that advertising and marketing that's happened to build that $20 billion, and most importantly, see who the target market is today. These things first appeared in Europe and Asia in the 1960s, actually Japan. There are some reports that as early as 1901 was the first energy drink. But in the U.S., it took a little bit longer for it to reach us. But when it did, man, it came with a jolt. 1985, Jolt Cola, the first energy drink on the market. And you can kind of see how the advertising went. It was, to stay awake, shock yourself, or get a jolt, or dare to want it all. Here it is. The whole idea behind this was putting into play a new type of an experience, which was this caffeine sugar jolt, if you will, into your system. And since then, the market has just exploded in the U.S. But we're going to go through a public service advertising about this because one of the things you need to understand before we go into training you on what an energy drink is, what it does, and what you need to look out for, you need to understand what's going on. First, when you take sugar and you take caffeine and you combine them molecularly, you have an effect, a very strong effect. Because, see, few people know that caffeine actually raises blood sugar level. That's right. So caffeine can actually raise your blood sugar level. So why do I make this part of a public service announcement? Well, if you already have sugar going into the drink and now you're going to add caffeine with it, your blood sugar spike is going to be exponential, or at least in theory it could be, especially for older people. So if you're diabetic, you struggle with sugar-related issues, you already have a sugar addiction, or more importantly, you're trying to watch your sugar levels and your glycemic response, you could really have an issue if you're taking one of these energy drinks because they are designed to do just that. So what do I mean by that? Well, when you get ready to take an energy drink for the first time, or if you take one on a regular basis, imagine yourself at the bottom of the hill. I mean, you basically have taken that thing and all of a sudden, you have this rush into the system of all of this energy because coupled with the caffeine is the sugar, and I mean you are full of it. I mean you're ready to run. The problem with most of these drinks is the effect at the end when it wears off. See, when it wears off, you're like jumping off the cliff, and it's a big cliff. I mean the crash effect of these things is exponential, and for some people it can actually be deadly. But unfortunately, most people don't even appreciate or understand that even if you can take these energy drinks and you don't feel this, or it's not that bad for you, or you don't have a medical related issue, This is what your body's systems, organs, and everything else are going through every time you do one of these things that is loaded with sugar and caffeine. I mean, and all the other ingredients that are now going into these things. You literally are going through this rush crash effect. Rush crash effect. I mean, you can read countless scientific studies, articles, reviews on what this is doing to our systems and more importantly to our overall health. But let's continue. Because this wouldn't be as big of a concern except for where the target market is. See, when you actually look at where these energy drink companies are focused on their marketing, that's when you're going to get a little upset. See, when you have ads like this, nobody ever wishes they had slept more during college. This is a Red Bull ad. Yes, I'm actually naming a company here because this is their ad. They did it. They were specifically targeting college students in this ad. The whole concept behind it is why sleep? Why miss out on the things that you're doing in college? Drink Red Bull and avoid the sleep. Well, we know from prior teachings as well as just general health information, sleep or lack of sleep is the number one cause of disease in this country, leading to obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and all kinds of other related issues. But here we are with a company, that is marketing to kids, basically saying, hey, sleep's not as important as the things that you're doing while you're in college. This is asinine. When you actually look at the demographics of who consumes energy drinks, though, you better understand the marketing. See, 66% of all energy drinks are consumed by people 13 to 35. That's the target. That's where they're headed. That's where all the marketing dollars are spent, trying to target this market. But what's interesting is when you really dig down, what you find is 50% are consumed by the people under the age of 25. So now you're into the college, high school age. But then you go a little bit deeper, and what you find out is in the college folks, 30% of college students drink these on a daily basis. Every single day, 30% of college students are drinking at least one of these, many of them more than one. The whole idea behind them is it's helping them stay awake. It's helping them not miss experiences. It's helping them get ready for tests. It's helping them, you fill in the blank. But the whole idea behind this is we are literally addicting these kids to these energy products in the hopes that they will become lifelong consumers. But then it gets even worse. 1/3 of our teens in this country, 12 to 17-year-olds, are using energy drinks every single day. That's 1/3. That's 33% of our population of kids. I mean, we already have 1/3 of our population of children that are overweight. Maybe it's a coincidence, if you believe in coincidences, that 1/3 use energy drinks every day and 1/3 is overweight. But the idea behind these is when you add all this sugar and all this caffeine together, I mean, there is going to be an effect, especially if you add in there the ill effects of lack of sleep and other things. It's just an issue, but the target market is the biggest problem that we have. So because we're talking about kids, because we're talking about the target market, because we're talking about the ill effects of this caffeine sugar rush that happens along with the crash, let's look at some of the dangers associated with these things. Let's look at the danger associated with the consumption of energy drinks in mass quantities or on a regular basis, or what the case could be. See, the side effects of energy drinks, the things that people very rarely talk about, are cardiac arrest, headaches, insomnia, type 2 diabetes, drug interactions. That's right, there are energy drinks that will actually have an interaction with pharmaceutical or over-the-counter drugs that you're currently using and utilizing that could have hospital-related effects or even worse. There's also the addiction component. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. There's the jitters, the vomiting, nervousness, and of course there are also the allergic reactions. These are just some of the side effects that are caused by heavy consumption of these products. But let's look a little bit deeper into this. See, between 2010 and 2013, there was 5,126 calls related to poisoning to the Poison Control Center in the U.S. That's all related to energy drinks. Now, here's the biggest kicker. 40% of those, more than 40% of those, involve children. That's right. So this is situations where the child had consumed so much of these energy products that the parent called in to the Poison Control Center hoping to get help for what had happened. This is the issue. I mean, it's typical of the American psyche. A little bit of something is good for you, so more of it must be better. And the concept is asinine when you actually look at the effects that it's having on the population. The reality is more of these energy drinks isn't helpful. It's actually harmful. And you need to be very careful with regard to what you're consuming, how much you're consuming, and understand what the label actually says on the back. But then you look at this, between 2007 and 2011, you doubled the amount of emergency room visits related to energy drinks. Simply consuming energy drinks doubled in a 4-year period. And of course, we don't even have the newest data over the last 6-year period on what that looks like yet. But here's the staggering effect. We had an increase of 279% in adults over 40 that were taken to the emergency room because of the consumption of energy drinks. Now, majority of these were related to cardiac-related events. That's right. So people over 40 deciding that they were going to consume these energy drinks, many times coupled with alcohol, because you have all these now alcohol-related drinks that also incorporate energy drinks. And what you ended up with is a 279% increase in the visits to the emergency room as a result. Here's another number, 19% of college students. Now, these are people you would consider to be healthy. I mean, they're on average 18 to 22-year-olds. I mean, they're in the perfect part of their healthy lifestyle growth model. But 19% of college students who consume energy drinks report having heart palpitations. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't necessarily want my son or my daughter having heart palpitations while they're in college simply because they consumed an energy drink. It's crazy to me that this is the number. But what's interesting about this number is when they asked the 19% that reported heart palpitations whether or not they stopped consuming energy drinks, 84% said no. So it has to be an addiction of some type, because why would you be doing something that you know is having that type of an effect on you? So let's talk about caffeine for a second. How much is okay? How much is not good? Here's a simple formula, and this is based on science, but there is some controversy with regard to the number. But in regard to where we are, where's the happy medium? 100 milligrams a day would be considered low. 300 is moderate, and that's kind of the safer zone, staying in that area. But then you get into the high zone, the 500. That can cause some ill effects. Unfortunately, most of our teens, most of this target market that we're talking about today, is consuming over 600 milligrams of caffeine daily. This is having extreme adverse effects on their health as well as their daily function, sleep, and etc. But here's kind of a general number, just kind of keep in the back of your mind when you're looking at these labels and trying to make informed decisions. What does that mean? Well, if you look at the numbers by the energy drink compared to a 12-ounce cola, what you find is that one 8-ounce Red Bull has the equivalent of 3 Cokes. One 16-ounce Full Throttle has 5, a Monster has 5, a Rockstar has 5, and then this wonderful drink called Wired 344 has a whopping 11 cans of Coke equivalent in the amount of caffeine that is in that single drink. So one 16-ounce Wired 344 has the equivalent of 11 cans of Coke when it comes to the quantity of caffeine. Be very careful with this, guys. I mean, this really is harmful, and you need to understand what it is you're consuming and what it's doing to you, or what it could do to you. The number one energy shot on the planet, yes, I've phased it out so that you can't read the bottle, does something else, and you need to be aware of this. See, it has 150% of your RDA of B3. B3 is niacin. There's a lot of people out there with niacin sensitivities, and this causes niacin flush, increased blood pressure, increased heart rate, increased blood flow. It does a lot of things like that when you're talking about the B complex vitamins. But 150% of your B3, 2,000% of your B6, and here's the biggest kicker, 8,333% of your B12 vitamins. Now, this is all in one little shot. I mean, literally something that, gives you several hours of energy, and you have this type of consumption. What is this doing to you? Well, I'm going to go a little scientific on you for a second, because, there's this wonderful phrase that's called vasodilation. It's the widening of the arteries and veins in the inner ear and brain. And what happens is, when that happens, is you increase the blood flow, you're pushing things through. Now, the problem is the target market. See, the brain stops developing at around age 22, age 23, so the question has to be, what are the long-term residual effects of this vasodilation occurring in our teenage and young adult ages when they still have a developing brain, when they're doing this on a daily basis, or at least 30% of them are doing this on a daily basis, and many times not just one, but multiples. So imagine if you have someone that's doing 4 of these. I mean, you have over 30,000% of their B12 vitamins going into their system. This is crazy, people. We have to understand what it is we're consuming. We have to understand that the quote unquote energy that we're getting may very well be causing us to lack energy later in life and may be causing long-term residual damage that we need to be well aware of. So if you look at the general Starbucks coffee, these are the kind of the small, medium, and large, and that's kind of their milligram content of a black coffee. And this isn't even getting into some of the extreme things where you add espresso shots and everything else that you can in Starbucks. But at ID Life, we wanted to make sure that we were staying within the safe and moderate zone. So our 2 energy products that are in drink form are 150 milligrams. So literally pick and choose which one you want, but the caffeine content is well below what a small black coffee from Starbucks would get you. Let's talk about insomnia for a second. See, people think they need energy in order to stay awake to get the things done during the day, but what they don't understand is about 40% of the population are what we call slow metabolizers of caffeine. What that means is if you're consuming caffeine after about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, chances are you're not going to go to sleep until sometime between 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. And some people it's even worse than that. See, so that time when you think you need energy because obviously you're feeling a little low and you're grabbing the caffeine or the energy drink, what you should be thinking about is electrolyte replenishment. See, try the electrolyte replenishment. At ID Life, we have a hydrate formula. I wouldn't recommend necessarily some of the sports drinks that are out there because of their sugar content, but look at electrolyte replenishment in the afternoon when you're feeling kind of lack of motivation or energy, and see what that does for you with regard to giving you natural energy, as opposed to taking the caffeine or, more importantly, these energy drinks. And watch what it does to your sleep patterns, because again, the number 1 cause of disease in this country has been related to lack of sleep. And unfortunately, these energy drinks that are loaded with caffeine and sugar do just that to many Americans. They cause the insomnia with it, which then gets you addicted to the sleep aid, which then gets you into the cycle where your health is compromised. Let's talk about sugar. It seems like we always talk about sugar, but in America, we have an addiction to sugar. We send people that are addicted to drugs to rehab, but we send people who are addicted to sugar to different weight loss clinics and don't really focus on the issue because, see, it really is an addiction that we have here. This is how much the daily consumption is supposed to be. Men 9 teaspoons, women 6 teaspoons. In essence, that's roughly about 37 grams and 25 grams. But when I talk about addiction, I'm serious. It is as addictive. Sugar is as addictive as cocaine. You can see this MRI image. It has the same effect on the brain, but yet we don't address it as an addiction. People are addicted to this stuff. But when you add caffeine, which already has its own addictive quality, and then you add sugar with it, you have a super addictive product. That's just really what you have, is you have something that is hitting you from both directions. And every time, it takes you up, it's going to crash you down. And unfortunately, when you're hitting that crash effect or it's wearing off, what ends up happening is you want more of it because you want that euphoria, you want that lift, you want that high, you want that effect that you can see on the brain. So we consume them over and over and over again during the day. One of the things that we've talked about a lot at ID Life as well is what we lovingly refer to as the bliss point. And the bliss point is the perfect combination of sugar, the perfect amount of sugar, the maximum amount of sugar that can be put in a product before it starts to fall off. So there is a point at which when you put a little bit more sugar in it, it actually has an ill effect with regard to taste and or the person's willingness to have more in the future. These companies spend a lot of time, a lot of money finding that bliss point, that perfect amount of sugar that they're going to put in this product so that it becomes as addictive as possible. So understand that part of the reason why you're grabbing that energy drink may be because you like energy, but it could also be the habit and or the addiction that you have to the sugar that's in the product itself, because that's what it was designed to do in the first place, is to get you hooked on that particular brand. How much sugar are in energy drinks? Well, you can look right here. Mountain Dew, 16 and a half teaspoons. Remember, guys, you need 9 teaspoons. Ladies, you need 6. So, yeah, guys, that's almost double. Ladies, you're looking at almost 3 times for one Mountain Dew. Monster, 14, Edge, 12. I mean, you can go down the list. I mean, it's insane. All of these, every single one of them, except for the Monster Rehab, exceeds or meets the maximum amount of sugar a lady in this country should have in a given day. Now, here's the thing, kids, same as ladies, 6 servings a day. So one of these on the lower end scale is the maximum amount of sugar they should have in an entire day. And of course, if they're grabbing the Monsters and Red Bulls and Mountain Dews, I mean, it's just insane what's happening. ID Life, on the other hand, 0, no sugar. There's no sugar in it because it doesn't need sugar, because we're not looking at trying to addict you. We're looking at trying to give you something that your body recognizes, knows what to do with, and is giving you the effect that you're looking for without causing the addiction or causing you the issues that these other drinks are causing. As regard to the addiction to sugar in this country, here's what we're looking at on average. The average 8-ounce energy drink has 21 to 34 grams of sugar. That's 5 to 8 teaspoons or servings in each 8-ounce serving. Watch your serving sizes, guys, because there's a lot of these drinks out here that say 16 ounces and give you numbers. And when you actually look at the servings, you see that there's 2, sometimes 2.5, sometimes more servings per can. So be very, very careful and watch the serving size when you're actually looking at the nutrition label. The average American is now consuming about 33 teaspoons a day. Yes, remember what I said. 9 is the maximum amount recommended for men, 6 for women, but the average American is consuming around 33. That's how bad it is. 545 calories a day. That means almost 12,000 pounds in a lifetime. So yes, we have an addiction to sugar, and these drinks are no exception, especially the ones that have a lot of sugar in them. They are also part of this issue that we have. The other thing about energy drinks, I happen to be I lovingly refer to myself as a high-functioning ADHD. It's kind of like the Energizer Bunny bouncing off walls. A lot of these energy drinks, they give you the energy, but I mean, man, all you are is bouncing off walls. You have no focus, no ability to really pay attention to what you're doing. You're just going every single place and bouncing off every wall you possibly can. I mean, you can do anything. The problem is you can't concentrate on anything. At ID Life, we believe in Healthy Simplified. We identify this problem. We recognize this problem, and we think that, there's a solution out there. And we wanted to address it. So what if, just what if you could get moderate amount of energy enhancers in a product, mental clarity ingredients to go along with it, no sugar and no crash? What would you have? If you could literally take these 4 components and create a product, what would you have? Well, at ID Life, we coined a phrase. It's called focused energy. See, that's what we have at ID Life. We have focused energy. What we've done is we've given you the energy enhancers that you're looking for. We've given you no sugar, low calorie content, and we've added the mental clarity components to go along with the product. So what you have is focused energy. No longer do you have the ADHD bunny bouncing off walls. No, what you have is the ability to get the energy that you need, but more importantly, focus on the thing that you need to focus on, because we all take these energy products for a reason. We want to get something done. We want to avoid something bad from happening because we're drowsy or sleepy, like when we're driving or something like that. We want to focus on something. These products, I should say, are designed to do just that. But more importantly, they're also designed to avoid a lot of the ill effects of the things that we've talked about today. If you want to learn more about ID Life, every Monday night, our CEO does a training on what ID Life is and what it is we do, and we would love to have you join us. It's 8:30 Central Time right here on Facebook Live, every Monday night, 8:30 Central Time. Next Tuesday, I will be out at the Texas Star Golf Course and Conference Center in Euless, Texas, just outside of Fort Worth. I welcome anyone to come out there. I'd love to see you. I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to explore more about energy drinks or anything else that you may want to talk about with regard to health and wellness and fitness. We have our national event coming up in just under, I think, 20 days now, 21 days. It's called Revolution. It's April 20th through the 23rd. An unbelievable number of speakers, professionals, leadership experts. Can't wait to see everyone April 20th through the 23rd. And hey, if you're just trying to learn more about what ID Life is, what it does, and why it's choosing to make the products that it is and the way that it is, come find out. Come take a look at what we're doing and get with some like-minded folks to find out what makes ID Life different. Next week we are going to do a special Facebook Live. It's sometimes you can't see yourself for the mirror, as the phrase goes. And what I mean by that is, one of the things we need to talk about is nutritional supplements. There's a lot of people out there that just simply don't believe that nutritional supplements can help them, or they don't think that nutritional supplements have any value. Next week, I'm going to talk about the science behind nutritional supplements. I'm going to talk about the complementary effect that nutritional supplements have with medicine. And most importantly, we are going to talk about nutritional supplements specifically designed for you. We have this terminology that you can now look up called precision medicine, but precision nutraceutics is something that's a little unique, and it's something that ID Life is on the cutting edge of. So tune in next week, same time, 11:30 Central Time, right here, Facebook Live, and we're going to discuss this wonderful topic of nutritional supplements and how they play into the healthy lifestyle that you're looking to achieve. Until next time, again, this is Mark Bennett on behalf of ID Life. Thanks for being here, and I look forward to talking to you again. Thanks.